What's going on, everybody? In this video, we're going to be taking a look here at the markets. We're going to be looking specifically at some very important technical levels here on the S&P 500 and on the Nasdaq. You can see right here before we get into the video that the S&P is closing at its lows. Not only that, you could see over here the fake out over here. You see that long wick taking out the overnight session over there, and then since now closing at its lows. But if you do look closely, it is coming down into this trend line over here. This trend line is the dead center in the channel we're in, with our trend line support and our resistance up here. We're in the dead center. We're coming into that trend line over here. That's coming in at 31, 38, and then right below that we have horizontal support at 31.23. Looking for both those levels to hold, or either one of those to hold, and a resumption off for an entry. Let's take a look and see what's going on in the video. All right, so right now the question on every trader mind needs to be, what do I need to do if I'm not currently long the equity markets? Listen, enough of trying to sell the top over here. If this, for any reason, starts to roll over, of all of a sudden we're seeing tech being sold, it's very easy to get involved on that type of price action. That's not what's happening, and it doesn't look like it's I remember back in 2013, I met up with a friend and they were telling me how they love the markets, and they kept selling puts against the equity markets. That was back in 2013, and they had been doing that for the last couple of years, constantly losing. Can you imagine what happened the next 7 years if they continued that strategy, which most people did, of selling puts? Doesn't make any sense. The times that puts fall into profit, puts are protection, right? Puts should be used as protection, not as an investment strategy in itself. And what about, listen, options, obviously dangerous. Be careful if you trade options, know what you're doing. Make sure that you are an expert if you're competing against experts. It's just simply how it works. But it seems to me that instead of selling instead of selling puts, buying calls might be the play on the equity markets. But I don't know anything about options myself. What I do know is right here, we're looking at the Nasdaq, then we're seeing that it went on to make new all-time highs so far this session and has since pulled back. Oh, it must be the time to actually go ahead and get short here if price makes a look. I'm kidding. Nasdaq is making new all-time highs. You're not looking to go ahead and short that market. What are you looking to do? Let's take a look at this together right now. Let's take a look at this last pullback going back into the July 4th weekend. And we had a pullback here of 1%. Here's the thing. Is that the pullback that traders should have taken advantage of? Because a lot of traders here, again, we're looking for the market top. Going into the month end of June, going into the month end, we had a lot of pension funds rebalancing, selling stocks, needing to sell. They were overweight stocks. The market knew about it. The market knew about all of the sales coming into the market. But nevertheless, the market has simply gone up, eaten it up, and continues upwards over here. Is there anything changing? Is there anything that's changing right now that should lead us to believe that perhaps we're seeing a top over here? What's happening on the S&P 500? By the way, this channel that we're currently in, you could see this was the trend line that we've our main trend line called the mother trend line, right? And this has been giving us our base. We've been watching this back since early May. Now, these other two trend lines are just this line cloned and then set above. You could see if I move this line around, there were also other points. For example, right over here, you could see this trend line in play. It's the same exact angle, cloned. You could see over here, it's resistance. Over here, it's support, resistance, support, support. Instead of keeping that on the chart, I've just moved it up to where I have it in the center, which is also relevant. And it's the angle of this trend line. This trend line is very important. This trend line, if we break below it, then we could say, okay, technically, this is no longer, the buyers are no longer in control. We're seeing a break of this trend line. At this point, it would also have to be this horizontal resistance coming in at 30.33. Above there, Technically, this is looking very, very bullish. We're looking now perhaps later this week testing 3,200 here on the S&P 500. What that would mean on the Nasdaq, would that mean higher highs throughout the week in the Nasdaq? I think that's what you're looking for. Now, just for perspective, that was that nice 1% pullback we saw last week. What about going back into late June over here, June the 23rd? Okay, this is actually when we saw that selling. This is when we saw that selling. And you could see the pullback over here was 5%. All right, hindsight trading is the easiest. You know that you should have, and I'm trying to get you to forward think, is what I'm going to be showing you to do in 1 second. But here you saw a 5% pullback on the Nasdaq. What about over here? This one looked a little bit deeper. This one looks about 7%. Is it even more than that? Let's take a look really quick. That is a pullback of 7%. Nailed it, right? So you have a pullback of 7%, of 5%, right? Going back to the bottom over here, what was this pullback? 5%. 5%, not even 5% again. So what, if you're not participating, and there's $5 trillion in money market accounts right now, that's not participating right now in the markets. That's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines that after a while might jump in and propel this thing even further. You do have the central bank printing, definitely inflating assets right now. That's why we continue to be looking on the long side here on the equity markets for the foreseeable future. You're seeing a decline in the Fed's balance sheet. That's coming from swap lines being paid back. That's not coming from any type of tightening come out of the Federal Reserve. So here you are. If you're not involved, do you jump in over here? Do you jump up? Just for the record, I don't think right now that equities is the best trade. I don't think equities is the best trade. It's Bitcoin, which is, I believe, the best trade, and also gold. I believe gold and also Bitcoin, primarily Bitcoin and then gold, including all precious metals, are going to be outperforming the equity markets over the foreseeable future, even if that means that we're trading on the S&P, if we're trading at 4,100. Okay, so, but here we are, everything looking good on the S&P above 3,153. That's very, very bullish over here. Above 3,153 is extremely bullish. You continue to look for those pullbacks to buy, or do you jump in now, buy, right? So you have an entry, higher high. Do you get in now today on the S&P? So you have a position, right? And then you continue to look to buy if we get any type of pullback. What type of pullbacks have we seen on the S&P? You saw last week also a 1% pullback, right? Let me fix that. What about over here? We saw a pullback from the high. That was close to 5%, like on the Nasdaq, about a 5% pullback. This one was 7%, a little bit steeper. We've been there to buy them all, and I don't think you should be looking to sell the top. Even if we have a 5% or 3% correction coming up on the S&P 500, I don't think you want to be selling that. I think at this point you want to be leaning in to go ahead and buy as we have in the past, and maybe even now as we enter the summer. I'm neutral right now on the S&P. I'm neutral on the Nasdaq. Watching them. You have to figure out what you're looking for. Are you looking for a little bit of a pullback to position into the long side? Are you trying to pick the top? Trying to pick the top is a tough way to make a living. I tell you, if this starts unraveling, we are in a bubble. That means that this thing could pop at any moment, or it could pop 5-6 years from now, right? If we're just getting started on this next wave, put logic aside. I understand the markets are disconnected from the economy, but we're going to see profits rising. We've seen a lot of layoffs. We're also going to see a lot of stimulus. That's a lot of stimulus coming from the Treasury, right? Coming from the Federal Reserve. We're going to see basic income being introduced. We're going to need a lot more help. And the markets are going to be looking for that stimulus. Right now, the markets aren't really data driven. We'll still watch the data prints as they come out. We'll still kind of put that puzzle together. But right now, the markets are not data driven. Right here, the markets are definitely trading off of liquidity. Fed is blowing a bubble. QE is underway. What happens in QE? Asset prices rise. Here we're seeing we're seeing the S&P. We're seeing the Nasdaq. We're seeing these assets rise. Get ready for Bitcoin over here. I've been trying to draw everyone's awareness now as it's time to focus in on Bitcoin as we're about to enter this bull market? Do you want to wait on Bitcoin until we break 10,400 in order to say, okay, we've officially started the bull market to get involved? That could very well be the way that I'm viewing it. I'm just looking to continue to accumulate, right? I was asked by family yesterday, is it a good time to buy Bitcoin, right? I told them, right? You have all the way through $20,000 to continue to accumulate Bitcoin. And that's what the plan remains. What else are we looking at? The dollar today, mixed. Dollar continues to be weak, rejected over here at this resistance over here, right? Dollar continues to have that downside bias. Silver looking great today. Here we go. This is a 3-day chart of silver. And here's one also at gold right here, challenging 1800. Again, I reiterate, gold, silver, bull markets, we're looking to buy off support. Same thing with Bitcoin, same thing with the equity markets. If things change, if we get a turn, if the markets turn on us, if something is happening, we're going to be there. Here's our plan for right now. Everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow morning.